Well, welcome to a brand new podcast called Acting is Business. I am your host, Al Harris, and this podcast is going to appeal, I would think, to those who are aspiring actors and actresses. I would assume mostly those who are perhaps in high school, at the university level, and are considering or thinking about a career in the arts as an actor, as an actress. This podcast may also appeal to those who have been in the business for a number of years, and maybe your career has stalled for some reason. Now, what we're not doing here, let me tell you what we're not doing here. We're not talking about becoming a big star. Although we will probably talk about big stars. This is more about becoming a working actor in the first half of the 21st century. And we're going to be looking back at other people's careers, those who have been successful, those who were successful, and then maybe after a certain time were not successful anymore. Because if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. And I know a lot of young people out there today, and they have absolutely no clue about history. And so I feel they're going to get into trouble. So this is not just another acting class. This is not just another place where you fine-tune your talents. Although that is also very important, and that is something we do here at Acting is Business. But we're looking at acting from the business side of things. This is something that is very hard for people who consider themselves to be artists. It doesn't matter what level your career is at, whether you are acting in community theater or at the university level, or if you are getting work as extras in motion pictures, or maybe you have your own television show. We actors, quite normally, consider ourselves to be creative beings. The first time I heard somebody talk about that you need to be thinking of yourself as a business was about 25 years ago when I was at university. And I have a degree, a bachelor's degree from Florida State University, in their great theater department there. It was a place where you did get to hone your talents as an actor, as a director, and that's where I feel that I excel in is directing, not necessarily acting, although I did that for 20 years. Nobody talked about really how to get a job. Yeah, there were seminars on auditions, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the business side of things. Taking responsibility for your own career. I'm talking about knowing what a damn contract is, how to read a contract, what their side of the bargain is and what your side of the bargain is. People don't know how to read a contract because we're artists. I'm talking about marketing yourself, seeing yourself as a small business, or if you prefer, a large corporation, if that's your idea. And most of the students that were in his classes or lectured, or he was lecturing, poo-pooed this, thought he was nuts. We are creative artists. Now, I remember going to a couple of his lectures, and I was on the fence, to be quite honest with you. I was on the fence about the whole thing. About, we're We're artists. We're creative. I don't know anything about business. How do I know anything about business? Well, I can tell you this much, and we'll talk about these things in future episodes, but he was right. His name was Dr. Andrew Riley. I have no idea if what's happened to him, but he was absolutely right in the long run. And I saw that he was absolutely right because I did not know anything about business, and I got screwed and taken at every turn because I didn't know that. I didn't know how to promote myself. I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't understand who I was as an actor, which is really important. I'm not talking about directing now. I'm talking about just as an actor. On top of that, you're always told, well, you can hire somebody to take care of all that stuff. Hogwash! They'll rob you blind. So he was right. Dr. Andrew Riley was right. Maybe he's teaching somewhere. I have no idea. I don't know what's happened to him. If he's alive or dead or teaching somewhere. But he was absolutely right. And I'm going to take those ideas that he had 25 years ago that I heard and was on the fence about, and what this podcast, what this school is about, that we are developing, is taking it to another level. Yes, we're going to do breathing exercises. Yes, we're going to do relaxation exercises. We're going to fine-tune your instrument, which is your body, which is your voice, and because you have to have that. That's what you're marketing. Plus, you'll learn how to listen, not only listen to the actors you are doing a scene with, scene study, right? But you'll also listen to some common sense, hopefully. It all works together for the good of your career, especially that second part. The work dries up a lot of the time for many people, and I would say even for most, the work dries up because people can't see you in any other type of role anymore. You have been the T word. You have been typecast. That happened to me on a much smaller scale, a much smaller localized scale. So I know what that's like. I know what it's like to only get that kind of part. And instead of embracing that, I rebelled against it and really made things difficult for myself. So I don't want to see that happen to you. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have listened to my high school director. And I'll be talking about him in a future episode. So stay tuned for that. It'll be called something like, it'll have the name Mr. Gillespie in it. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I'm going to make sure the name Mr. Gillespie is in the title. So you'll want to stay tuned for that one. If you are so blessed as to get onto a TV show, for example, that runs for 3, 4, 5 years, just because you have gobs of money doesn't mean you have to have 5 houses. Doesn't mean you have to have 3 boats. Save your money. Save your money. Invest your money. Live modestly. Oh, sure, they're going to try to get you to spend all your money on all these different things. You need this, you need that. Might as well live the high life. And it's nice to have some of that stuff. I'm not against any of it. But do you need all of it? What happens when you're not making that kind of money in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? What happens when your income goes down from $500,000 an episode to maybe $2,000 a year? You got to plan for that. You have to plan for that. Subscribe. If you've gotten this far, I thank you for listening to the whole thing. and we will see you on the next podcast.